Welcome to r/LegalAdvice, where we read surprisingly interesting stories that don't end in a cliffhanger. I promise. Before we start, I would just like to say happy birthday to user Days Breath from the comments. Please wish him a happy birthday. Parents took $6,000 from me without my consent, resulted in homelessness and prevented university education. I live in Alberta, Canada. About a year and a half ago, my family got a huge surprise from my great-grandfather, who gave us each $5,000 with the exception of my mother. I was 17 at the time, and my mother and uncle went to the bank with me to set up a joint account between me and my uncle, since my great-grandfather wrote the checks in both mine and his name for some reason. My father, who was an alcoholic at the time, stated that it would be best that all of the bank cards of the newly created accounts be in his and my mother's hands so that we would not make reckless purchases. At the time, I did not mind, since I was planning to save the money for university, but the main reason I gave the card to them was because my father was not one to cross. He has done things to me in the past and I've been scared of him since. All was fine until a couple months later, when I decided to pitch into my savings with my job, only to find that the $5,000 was gone through multiple purchases. The tap function was on the card. I confronted my mother immediately, away from my father, and she agreed to pay back $400 a month. However, this only happened for 3 months. Around the same time this started, my great-grandfather, unaware of what happened, sent another $5,000. Due to a plane ticket I bought to see my girlfriend this August, as well as a $500 slash to my paycheck, I was left with about $1,000. However, after we transferred the money into my brother's account to keep my father as calm and stable as possible, his account was locked, my mother refusing to open the account. I burst under pressure and was given the boot. While I was in the homeless shelter, I kept asking for the $1,000 back to get shelter, to find my mother already unlocked the account and gave it to my father. I had to drop my classes in high school right before the diplomas because of this. I was unable to get a credit card approved by the bank for application because of the ridiculous transactions, and found that my great-grandfather was going to send another $10,000 before he learned of what my parents did. A couple months later I was let back in, but now they are telling me, "It's gone, money is the root of all evil." I lost my girlfriend after cancelling the trip, lost my university aspirations, and lost much more that I would rather not reveal here. What should I do? Update: after seeing all of the suggestions here and seeing just how many people apparently have my back, I decided to leave the house and go back to the youth shelter while I get myself a lawyer and gather the necessary evidence. Thank you all. I never thought this would blow up like this when I went to sleep last night. Knowing a couple thousand strangers have my back seems to give me more courage to go about with this action than I did before. You see, I have about $650 to $700 in known debt right now, and they are asking me to pay $250 a month for a room, even worse than the unfinished basement I was sleeping in before. And giving my mattress away, as I found out just now during the moving preparations. It is still $500 cheaper than the room I paid for per month after getting out of the shelter at my friend's place, but it does not feel right. Especially with how they are consistently acting as if what they did was nothing. If you guys have any more advice, I will be sure to take it and update you all with the situation. And by the way, from now on I will also always read one of the top comments in each thread, because that is what many of you requested in the comments. The top comment for this one said, "Call the police, you have been the victim of a crime. Don't believe anything that your parents tell you. They have clearly proven that they are untrustworthy." Second comment, "That is the best decision. Police is the first thing you have to contact when a crime happens." You know guys, that story kind of reminded me that way back in the past our school had donated money to a homeless shelter, and that leads me to the question, have you ever donated money to a homeless shelter or any other organization for that matter? Let us know in the comments. Update to the story from before. From Alberta, a few months back I made this post regarding how my parents threw me out of the house after stealing 6k from a joint bank account of mine they had no jurisdiction over. Thankfully, I took a lot of advice, come to comments and found out. First, my great-grandfather does in fact exist. Second, there were no loans being taken out by my parents from my account. Third, my credit score, from Credit Karma at least, appears to be non-existent as it was before. Fourth, my uncle, whom I shared the joint account with, did not play a role in the matter. I have since taken the matter to the police and have both called them on their non-emergency line as well as visited their headquarters, and they have taken no action whatsoever despite a submitted 3-page report detailing all the events in detail. At one point an operator hung up on me telling me my case was not worthy of police involvement. I double-checked the date of the bank account being opened, since my memory can be bad with dates, and found that it was created around the time we moved, which was the date of my 18th birthday, so thankfully they cannot claim that I was not an adult at the time they took the money. I wanted to take the suing route, but unfortunately it seems as if they don't have the money to pay me back, meaning I would likely be spending money pursuing the case and getting nothing back. I should probably explain a few things about the original post as well. The reason I left the school after being booted out is that I was already stressed out about the diplomas and now was in a situation where I had everything in my life just vanish. When I was in the shelter, I had no way to properly commute to the school and back, and even if I did, I felt that if I was to go to the school, I would break in front of everyone and be unable to focus with everything else on my mind, like getting out of that shelter and employment. Most importantly, however, I was worried that my parents would be at the school looking for me. Looking back at it, it was definitely flawed logic, and I've been attending an upgrading institution at no charge from the public school district. To finish off the courses I essentially dropped. I have since moved back in with my parents, as awkward as it is again, but I just cannot stand them. I've been trying to get a job for weeks now, but the economy is such a pain in the butt at the moment. When I do manage to get a stable income, I hope to move out ASAP and cut as much contact with both of them as physically possible. I must have applied to over 100 different listings by now and gotten only 2 responses, both of them being declined. Thank you for all of your support. I honestly have no clue where to go from here regarding this situation. Of course, they are still trying to get me to pay the $250 a month despite the 6k they took covering that rent for a long time, and expect me to contribute to the family on top of that. I hope you guys have suggestions, but if not, I thank you for at least being there to show me that even if nobody I know were to care, I still have complete strangers with kind hearts behind my back. And unfortunately guys, there have been no further updates, but judging from what we have heard so far, there doesn't seem to be an ending that is too happy. Either way, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you very much, all support is very much appreciated because it really helps to get my video recommended to new viewers. The next one is titled, "My brother went missing 6 years ago. Police came yesterday to ask if we have seen him lately, but did not say why. How do we get more information? Illinois. My twin brother went missing on 23rd July 2011. He was 19 years old and went out for a run and never came back. We have used every resource at our disposal, police, PLs, etc., and we never found even a hint. It was like he had disappeared from the face of the earth. I don't think there is a PI, which I think is private investigator, in town that we have not hired yet. He has not accessed his bank accounts, healthcare, his social media accounts, his emails, nothing. You can imagine how difficult it has been for our family. Yesterday afternoon, a police officer came to my place to ask me questions about him. Whether I had seen him lately, if I know where he lives, if I know any of his recent friends, and questions like that. When I asked what this is about and what do they know about him, he said he cannot say anything at this time. This same police officer has left a voicemail on my mother's phone asking her for a time to meet to ask her a few questions. I told him everything and begged him to tell me what is going on, but he refused. I went to the police station today but could not get any information from them and could not find this officer. It is a Saturday after all. I'm going to go again on Monday. What is the best way for me to get some information about what is going on here? By best I mean most likely to succeed. I imagine there is no law that says the police officer is required to tell us if he has learned something about my brother, right? Is there any law or some Freedom of the Information Act or whatever that might help me uncover what is going on? And the top comment said, other than reopening a cold case, there are basically two reasons to do an investigation like this. First, they are trying to identify someone they have found. Second, they are looking for someone they think has done something. Neither of those is particularly good news for your family, and I am sorry for that. Guys, did you ever have a friend or a family member go missing? You know, for me it's not a family member, but recently my family and I have thought about my grandfather who has passed away some time ago, and me personally, I've never got to meet his brother or sister who are apparently still alive. The problem is we have no idea where they live, and they might have even changed their last names by now. I think the last time my grandfather before he died or my grandma was in contact with them was maybe around 30 or 40 years ago. I gotta tell you, it's kind of unfortunate to not know a specific part of your family. But anyway, let's continue. Sorry for going off topic. Update to the story from before. I talked to the officer in charge of the investigation for my brother being missing. They found his name written in a notebook which belonged to a drug trafficker. The officer who was looking for him was wondering if my brother was still missing after talking to the officer in charge of that investigation. 3 days later, we received the call that they may have found my brother's remains and they needed DNA samples to confirm. DNA confirmed it was him. What happened was that when he went out that day, he saw his friend and they went to see another friend of his, not my brother. That was a drug dealing location. Things went bad when my brother was there and someone was heavily beaten up, which my brother and his friends saw. That is when they decided to... His friend was kept silent under the threat for his life. He was dealing for them. Recently, he was arrested and confessed and reported my brother's murder to get a better deal. The officer says my brother did not die in pain. It was multiple gunshots you would expect after 6 years of playing this possibility in our heads. We would have been prepared for it, but we were not. We had a funeral for him. Now there is a place that I can go and talk to him and at least feel a little closer to him even though he is gone. I thank all of you who helped. Guys, I gotta say, I'm kind of sorry because this is the second sad story in a row, but I thought it was quite interesting and I hope you don't mind. The next one is titled, I called 911 for a medical emergency and the police showed up and verbally harassed/threatened me. Should I file a complaint? Pennsylvania. Tonight I had to call an ambulance to my apartment. My boyfriend was acting erratic and seemed to be in psychosis. He then had a full-on seizure. Later on I found out he smoked synthetic MJ. I don't know much about that. I do not do drugs. I do not even smoke normal MJ. I called an ambulance because I did not know what else to do. I was scared. 3 policemen showed up first and entered without knocking. Asked where he was, I started to cry and they told me to go in the other room as I was annoying them. I complied, then the larger of the 3 cornered me in the hallway. He said my pupils were completely blown and I better start telling the truth about what drugs I do. I told him that I have incredibly poor eyesight and my pupils have been naturally large since childhood. This is true, he told me. Stop effing lying to me now, or you're getting arrested for drug possession. Again, I denied any drug use and told him he could literally drug test me through blood and urine at that exact moment. I am clean. He left me in the hallway and another man came out. Rinse and repeat. Then the third did the same thing. They kept telling me to look at lights and laughing and saying I was the biggest liar they had ever met. At this point I'm amped up and scared. I am a 23-year-old woman, I am in nursing school, I do not do drugs. At this point they have the EMs there coming and checking my pupils and laughing. They were telling my boyfriend that he better rat on both of us or we were both going to jail. They ripped apart my whole entire room and starting laying into me for having Cypro prescribed, which is an antibiotic. The largest policeman then told me he was going to speak to my landlord and have me evicted. I reiterated that I am completely clean and could pass not only a field sobriety test but a drug test of any kind. He retorted with, "I highly doubt that," as he continued to tear apart my home. Eventually they got my boyfriend into the ambulance and all 3 of the cops left laughing. The largest turned around and said, "Congratulations on ruining your life. Don't call an ambulance when you're on drugs. I will see you around." Not only am I shaken, but I feel threatened and ashamed. The man I was with should not have been on anything, but I called an ambulance because I was scared he might die. I did not call them to be harassed. Did they even do anything really wrong that I can report this? We live in a small town in NEPA. I know that they heard a possible drug incident over the scanner and had 3 of them show up because they thought they would find a good amount of drugs / an incident of interest. They found absolutely nothing, no one got arrested or charged. They also refused to give me any badge numbers and told me if I kept inquiring I would be in more trouble. Update, I tried to file a police report and the chief basically said, "Save yourself the trouble and do not." And the top comment suggested, "Write everything down before you forget. Even what the policeman looked like, any details, time of the 911 call, when they arrived." Also, having a written trace will help if you have to repeat multiple times. And then file a complaint. However guys, I suppose in this case filing a complaint was not an option. Maybe that was another case of small town politics, but honestly I'm surprised that the police is allowed to not show their badges when they are asked to show them. By the way, there's one channel on YouTube that I can recommend if you're interested in seeing police body cam footage from police officers in America. The channel is called Police Activity, but now let's continue with the stories. Last month, a friend began to cross a flooded river in his car with me in it. I jumped out because I had been caught on a flooded causeway before. I now have a letter from his lawyer asking for damages because the car was washed off the causeway and written off. Longtime legal advice reader here, and I'm pretty sure this is a case of my probably ex-friend being an idiot on a lawyer's letterhead or not telling his lawyer the whole story. When I am in the middle of it, it feels a lot different though. Early in November, we went to pick up car parts after work that my friend, I will call Aaron because his name is Aaron and I think he's being an idiot, had bought on eBay. We had to go through some back roads to get to the property and picked it up and all was well. It had been raining for part of the day, but really picked up when we were loading the parts and we got to a causeway we had passed only an hour before, but it was now covered in what looked like half a meter of water and we stopped. I had been navigating and knew we could back up and take another much longer route even though the highway was just a bit on the other side of the causeway. There was no way I would go through the water as it looked, but because I had been caught on a causeway 20 years ago in less water and had my car pushed off into the river, I did not want to risk it. I did not lose that car, but it is one of the scariest moments of my life. I said we had to turn back and could take a different road 10 kilometers around, but that would take us via a bridge over the same river. Aaron decided to push on and started moving and I panicked and got straight out. It was far more water than I had to go through when I near lost my car and life before. I got out well before the water though, so I did not let water in the car. Aaron did not even get halfway across and the water pushed his car off the side, rolled it completely over and it ended upright on the bank 50 meters downstream. He was extremely lucky not to drown and I ran down and helped him out. Immediately he was aggressive and combative because he said with my weight in the car he would have made it across. Admittedly, I am 130 plus kilograms, but his car is a 1650 kilogram Commodore wagon with a couple hundred kg of eBay parts in the back, so it is not like I would have made much difference. We phoned for help and the river went down within an hour and made it across the causeway by foot. We have not spoken since and he has avoided me in places we usually go. But on Friday, I received a letter from a lawyer I know is real in our town, but sounds like it was written by my friend. It is asking for $50,000 for the car and personal damages because I made the car unsafe by getting out. It was a 1997 Commodore, maybe worth $1,500 on a good day. I think he's being a dickhead. Someone reassure me it's not up to me to sit in someone's car when they are doing something dumb, is it? Ideally, I would like to post him this link and responses if they are what I think they will be. I want to contact his lawyer to tell them Aaron is either being an idiot on their letterhead, but in the off chance it is for real, should I get my own lawyer to draw up my own "Stop this, you bunch of goons" letter? And the top comment said, if you got a letter from a real lawyer office, I would check in to verify they wrote the letter. I'm sure they would be interested in a letter they did not write that was sent on their letterhead. Guys, have you ever had the pleasure of getting a ridiculous letter like that from a supposed lawyer? Feel free to let us know in the comments. And the next one is an update to the river story. I went to a lawyer my parents had used a few years ago and they recommended. She took one look at the letter from my friend Aaron's lawyers and said she has concerns about it and she would respond. She contacted his lawyer and my lawyer mailed me to tell me Aaron's lawyers are not his lawyers at all, but to contact her if I heard more, otherwise no need for more action. Aaron had apparently faked up the letter and admitted as much to me yesterday when he finally decided to talk to me. He wants me to retract my complaint to his lawyers about him using their letterhead. I had not complained to them myself, so I did the time-honored thing and told him to go pound sand, but it might have rhymed with "go eat a bag of dicks." Well, at least that is one story that has a sort of positive ending. Either way guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video and I hope you still enjoy r/LegalAdvice because I really like the stories on that subreddit, especially because they seem real, which is something I miss a lot in other subreddits. Apart from r/ripe stories of course, which pretty much only has real stories. So, shameless plug, if you have your own interesting story to tell, please head over to r/ripe stories on Reddit, which is our own subreddit where you can submit your own stories if you want me to read them in a video. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day and I see you again tomorrow.